Yesterday you said, you know, let's take a little step back here, but what's your take on this?
I think it's really important, Emily, to talk about how a phone launch works. In the first 72 hours, the carriers who are selling this device and the phone maker itself generally have a pretty good idea of how their product's going to do. They also know that in the course of launching a new device, some are going to get returned. There are things called buyer remorse policies that exist at carriers. They used to be generally 30 days. Now they've actually gotten shorter, more like 14 days, where you're expecting that some people are not going to be happy with the device, and they're going to try and get there before they can't, get their money back.
Right, but more than they're buying them?
Well, I think this is where the methodology of this analyst comes into play. So we spoke to one consultant today who does this for a living. They do channel checks, and they say to do a really accurate read of how a device is selling, we have to check in with at least 180 sellers of a device like this. Now, if you think about it, you add up the AT&T stores around the country, the dealers that work with AT&T or Verizon or whomever, the Radio Shack locations, the Best Buy stores, you're talking about thousands and thousands and thousands of places where this Z10 device is sold. So even if you were to find 5 locations where a lot of people are returning a device, or 10 locations, or 40 locations, the math suggests that still is not going to give you an accurate read of how many devices have been sold. So from that perspective, BlackBerry is well within its right to say, what is this firm talking about? Show us your methodology. And to the point about, the markets, keep in mind that this is a heavily shorted stock. I believe the Bloomberg data suggests that roughly a third, if not more, of BlackBerry shares are sold short. So that's the story. People play BlackBerry, if you will, from two sides. Some are buying the stock and some are selling it short.
Well, they have another big launch coming up, the Q10, the one with the keyboard.
Yes, and I think, and we talked about this yesterday, that getting a really accurate read on how this whole new BlackBerry 10 launch goes requires seeing how this keyboard device is selling in conjunction with the touchscreen device. And they staggered it in part because they wanted to make sure that people started using the touchscreen phone first, because they've got to compete with the likes of the iPhone and the Android devices. It is a smaller screen, so I think if there are beefs out there about the interface, those might not be actually resolved by people using the keyboard device, because it's actually less real estate. But obviously, there are the people who like the keyboard device, too. And obviously, in the next few weeks, we'll get a good read on that.
We'll be closely watching that one.